With everything going on in Otter Creek, people still can't believe this place actually exists. And they want to know, Jeremy, are you truly going to put up bed and breakfasts? Yeah, I've had that plan and that idea from the very beginning. I've got side hustles doing lots of different things, but that's not the only business I want to bring to Otter Creek. I know, you want to know what other business. Well, there's lots of people that has questions. For example, Lois. Oh, I'm juggling my phone here. Lois wants to know what happened to Mrs. Claus. So if you remember in the actual meeting, the town council meeting, Mrs. Claus, or Belinda, as most normal people know her, she was limping a little bit. Actually, Doug has his arm in a sling, and then Belinda is on crutches. So they both had a few things that they had to get done, but you put them both together and you've got plenty of working arms and plenty of working legs. And that's the way a relationship is supposed to be. You're supposed to find somebody that you want to grow old with, that you take care of, and they're always together making sure that each other is okay. Nahern wants to know who undervalued the water plant. Whoa! Now, what this question is in reference to, you heard about the insurance and increasing the value on the structures and the assets of the town, and that the water plant was only valued at $25,000. Typically, the underwriters do that. I know some of you are thinking that had to be Russ the Sus. That had to be Mary Mary. Mary Mary must have lost a zero. Usually it's an underwriter that comes in and does that for the insurance company. So for example, I have a rental building, okay? I bought it for $120,000. Now, the replacement value is upwards to $500,000, but the underwriter is the one that actually determines that. So even though I bought it for $120,000, they insure it for $500,000 because that's what it takes to replace it. You understand that's a major issue if Otter Creek's only water plant is only insured for a replacement value of $25,000 when easily you'd have to put $500,000 into it. So now's the time to get these things corrected. And probably Mary Mary was the one that wasn't asking the appropriate questions. When an underwriter goes, oh, replacement value is $25,000, she had no clue. She had no concept. Now, please understand, I am sure there are things that Mary Mary Mathescary is gifted at. Math and numbers, organization, business, running an office is not on that list by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sure there are great things. You know, taking care of cats. I know she's got a dog. Not cleaning up her property. You know what? I honestly don't know. I have no clue. But obviously insurance and working with the insurance company was neither her forte or Russ the Sus's. Mr. Russ wants to know, why didn't they vote Richard a $1 raise? You can't spend a group clap or an attaboy. Well, maybe because he already got a significant raise last year with Madam Mayor. Not just a brief, small, tiny raise, a huge raise. And all the expenses of a town of less than 100 people. How are they going to pay for it? Mr. Russ Vet? I mean, you could send the money in, right? I mean, if you're going to complain about it, you could be the solution to it. And here's what I find most often than not. People always complain about money. They're not getting enough. They want more. And yet, at the same time, those same employees aren't putting in the effort to deserve more. Now, if we say somebody's doing a great job and everybody applauds and says thank you and shows appreciation, that's what I call mission-driven. Now, if this is the same individual that goes, I'm not doing that, it's not in my contract, you pay all the other employees this, but you pay me this, I call that money driven. And that's not a type of person I want to be associated with. I want to be associated with a person that understands the overall mission and wants to take care of the people. So if Richard's heart and motivation is for the residents of Otter Creek, money isn't even an issue. I mean, come on. Richard is retirement age. This is part-time just to do something to get him out of the house, right? I know that. You know that. It's not as if he's going to be living off of this income. It's just to give him a project. Today, I took care of the peacocks. Why? Because I like the peacocks. It gets me out of the house, into nature, and it's a project that I enjoy. So why not give him $1 an hour raise? He already had a huge raise. And the raise isn't the answer to everything. Sometimes the answer is just a verbal thank you. Sometimes the answer is, this is the wrong person in the wrong position in the wrong organization, and we need to find somebody else. And I'm not saying that about Richard. I'm saying about that overall. I've had well over 1,000 employees work for me. Well over. Now, sometimes I got the right person in the right position, and I did it so well, even I was in awe. And sometimes I got the wrong person in the wrong position, and I did it so wrong, even I was in awe. And sometimes I had the wrong person, not in the wrong position, just the wrong complete organization. Didn't jive with the corporate culture that I create, the leadership style that I have. And that is a tough thing for sure. User HC9, bunch of letters, bunch of numbers, wants to know, why aren't they using the sound system that was donated them? So Limwalkers donated a sound system, and that helped with the acoustics and the sound levels when the actual council members used it. Except Russ the Sus didn't want to use it. Don the Con didn't want to use it. And when I wasn't there, then you had people who didn't want to put up a fight with the children, right? You know, it's pretty sad when these elder adults act more like children than actual children. And so it was just a fight that they gave up on. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't continue to use it. It still can be used. And I still remember how to set it up. And I offered my own microphones to some of the council members. And so with Mayor Zim, his voice is extremely difficult to... You know, if you're there in person, you can hear him just fine, even though he's very softly spoken. But you understand that cell phones that most people are filming with, actually everybody, I've never seen anybody film with anything but a cell phone, they don't function the way God created your ear to function. So it's not going to hear everything like your God-given ear does, okay? Nor is your cell phone camera going to see everything the way that your God-given eyes do. The camera is going to pick up different colors that my eyes can't even see. I'm red-green colorblind, which I can see red and I can see green. I cannot see purple. You go figure out why they call it red-green colorblind. I don't know. Same reason why I don't know why they're not using the system. I'm sure they can get back into the process of using the system and everybody actually using a microphone, which will be good because it is extremely difficult to hear some of those people. Now, me personally, I've learned through the years working with large groups, those of adults and children, to actually enunciate and push. And so I push everything with my diaphragm. So my diaphragm's down here, I push it out, and that way I didn't have to use a microphone or a megaphone. But you actually have to strengthen, it's a muscle. You have to strengthen your voice just like anything else. Now, I also had to learn to do that on YouTube. In my earliest videos, all the viewers would say, we can't hear you. So what I would do is ramp it up really loud. And then they would go, we hear too much of you. So now I've kind of through the years found that that delicate balance of where the entertainment voice, the real, you know, the non-entertainment voice and the volume is fairly consistent because we don't use microphones. Now, I can't promise the town of Otter Creek will use microphones, but let's hope they do again soon. Angela wants to know, which one is Vice Mayor Carl? Okay, so let me give you a little background on Carl and why I actually appreciate him. When I first came to Otter Creek and I found myself in a mess in Otter Creek, literally a mess, cleaning up other people's messes and having boundary issues as well with meth heads actually parking on my property, dumping on my property, claiming my property's their property, even though they knew my property wasn't their property. They knew where the actual property lines were and playing dumb about it. Carl was there. Carl brought over license plates for me. Carl brought over the no parking sign that I have on my fence right now, where many people were parking. And frankly, some have even continued to park and had their vehicles removed or towed at their expense. And so Carl was a resident that welcomed me when there were potentially others who were causing problems for me. And so I appreciate Carl, number one, for welcoming me as a new resident, not trying to push me out like a Russ the Sus or a Don the Con or a Mary Mary, who would say, we don't want outsiders and we don't want new families and we don't want any change or any growth. Listen, if you're not changing, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're dead. I mean, that's the reality of it. And that's the reality of this town. So Carl's married to Mandy. They have a daughter as well. He's got a family. He's a family man. Not only is he a family man, he works in corrections, and so does his wife. And so, to do the job they do, number one, is very stressful. And I have no doubt it's very stressful on them personally, probably relationally as well. I'm just guessing, okay? There's no information that I have, but to put yourself in that environment of corrections and then come home every day, both of them, oh my goodness, the stories they must have to tell one another. But this is a family man who actually appreciates people coming into Otter Creek who want to better Otter Creek. And I don't know anybody in Otter Creek that goes, oh my goodness, we want this to be as big as Orlando. Nobody wants that. They want the small town feel with the convenience and the services that are needed that you don't have to drive an hour away for. You don't have to drive to Gainesville for. Now, some of those things, you can find those in Chiefland, which is 15 minutes away. Bronson, which is 15 minutes away. Cedar Key, which is 15 minutes away. But something such as gas, I mean, sometimes you can't even drive 15 minutes away because you're gonna get stranded. Your tank's gonna go dry if you do try that. Or you just need that one thing from the store. One thing, that's it. And to drive to the store and back, that's 30 minutes round trip. And you just, can you imagine just having a Dollar General right there to be able to just run over there real quick? Or a little restaurant even. I mean, come on, a pizza shop. A pizza place would do well. Maybe not in Otter Creek, but it'd be nice, right? It would be nice. What about an ice business? You could have an ice business there for all the fishermen going to Cedar Key. You could have gift shops. Like, right now, gift shops would make so much money in Otter Creek. So much money. If they were to sell t-shirts with all the things that Russ the Sus and Don the Con and Mary Mary have said, oh my goodness, the amount of money Otter Creek would be making with a gift shop right now. If they were to sell little otter plushes, if they were to sell little Otter Creek keychains, if they were to sell, I mean, think about it. What else, when I say Otter Creek, do you think about and people visiting Otter Creek would absolutely want? 2-inch pipes. Come on. You could literally go buy PVC, cut it up into 2-inch pipes, put a keychain on it if somebody's crafty, and I guarantee you people are going to buy it in a little gift shop. And there's so many more things, like, dead turtles. Lola Bear says, that was the best town hall meeting ever. And a lot of other things. I'm rocking back and forth right now. Hopefully that's not making you guys dizzy, but I'm enjoying it. I mean, I love this spot. I just love it. And probably one of the smartest things I've ever done was to hang a hammock in here. You could spend all day out here. You're in a screened-in porch, so no bugs, but you have all nature around you. It's incredible. Okay, all right, let me get back on track. I got off a little bit. Lola Bear said, and I'll stop swinging back and forth too. At least I'll attempt to. Lola Bear says, that's the best town hall ever. So happy for Mayor Zim. I think he's going to do great things now that Russ is out. But what's up with Don? Did he actually quit by walking out? And what the heck is he talking about that was illegal? The actual people being sworn in? I'm confused. Okay, well, let's see what we can figure out, Lola Bear. All right, so Don is stating that the charter states that Zim and the lawyer cannot swear in the new members until the actual meeting is opened. Well, what they did was opened the meeting with swearing in the new members because there's no quorum, because all you had was Mayor Zim, who was still the vice mayor at this point in time. He wasn't elected mayor yet. So how are you going to open a meeting with no quorum? I suppose you could open it and then you could say, well, we don't have a quorum, therefore we can't do anything. Regardless, what they did was not illegal. And as we've already heard from Megan, the town lawyer, the whole charter needs updating. Now, I'm using the word illegal. So many things in that charter are illegal. It is the exact opposite of state law because it hasn't been updated, or they were too foolish to actually know what the law is. I mean, we've seen that time and time again with Russ the Sus, Don the Con. The entire Levy County Sheriff Department tells us that they called the law on us so many times because we were filming. We have the emails of them complaining about us filming, trying to get us arrested for filming. They obviously don't understand the law. So what's Don saying is illegal? He's saying everybody's illegal. Of course, he's probably on heightened alert because I've been actually exposing all the corruption from his wife, from him, from Russ the Sus. And what's he most scared of? Honestly, I think the scariest thing for him is that it does get unincorporated and the county will force him to clean up his property, which is funny because Rosemary was writing emails about cleaning up her property 20 years ago. And what's happened? 20 more years of garbage and filth. But it was Don the Con that actually said he wanted to vote to unincorporate the town in a meeting. Don the Con can't unincorporate the town. And even though there are those that say, Jeremy Hales is trying to take over Otter Creek, he's trying to turn it into Tube Town, baby. Population 1. Mainly LIEnette CROOK and the fools that follow them, drink their Kool-Aid. You know, the fools that are in that stripping preacher cult. You know, that thing that LIEnette going on. They're swapping out all that turtle soup. And they're trying to say that Jeremy can unincorporate the town. I can't unincorporate the town. I can't do anything to unincorporate the town. The residents as a whole have to vote to actually unincorporate. And keep in mind, it was Russ the Sus that tried to do it when he was booted out as mayor before. R.O. Ellick wants to know, what happened to the old mayor, Mayor Therese? I didn't think she was that old, to be honest, but I think he means previous, or she means previous. Most people are up to speed on this. If there's anyone that isn't, Madam Mayor Therese and her husband, Brett, they sold the campground, Shady Oaks, and because of Form 6, they did not, or she did not want to disclose all of her financials, which I agree with her 100%. I would never have disclosed all my financials either. And now they're out living their best life. If I keep going, it's because I just had 2 lemon heads. I should probably, the right amount of tart. Shane sent them, and so I've been eating them because I can't cook. But you know who can? Madam Mayor Therese. And out on the road, currently in Alaska. And I'm trying to formulate plans to actually go see them in Alaska. And they're living their best life. They bought an RV, they're living the RV life, and they're seeing everything they always dreamed to see. They are living the dream that most of you actually have, to not have to go to work every day, to see the things that you've always wanted to see before you pass away, and to create memories that last a lifetime. And not only are they creating memories for themselves, they're creating memories for all their friends, their families, and their loved ones as they video everything. I can't think of anything better than getting on the road and seeing all of creation, everything they possibly can, while they can. Lynn Murray wants to know, could the town accept a private donation to finish installing the water filters? Well, this is a good question. So first of all, The new system is a donation as it is already. Remember, this is a new system that they're testing with Otter Creek because Otter Creek's water is such a mess. And if they can fix Otter Creek's water, then they can attempt to fix other people's water. So this is a new pilot program where it's being donated to the town as a whole. Now, there are expenses with that. And I did talk to Belinda just a little bit about donations because I've shared in the past that my intention was when I won in court with the town of Otter Creek against Russ the Sus and Mary Mary. And I want to be very clear. It was against Russ the Sus and Mary Mary and nobody else, even though it had the town's money that had to pay me back. But as they asked, would I settle? I said yes for legal fees. My goal was to actually donate those legal fees back to the town of Otter Creek for a designated project. Well, at that point, Madam Mayor Therese actually stepped down, and I went, whoa, 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 whoa. And then Russ the Sus was creating all kinds of chaos. And I went, there is no way I'm trusting any money gifting back, which Belinda has since told me, because now Mayor Zim is in and Vice Mayor Carl, and I still wanted to do something. And she said, per ethics training, if I were to give a donation, and this goes to answer your question, if anybody else was to give a donation, it can't be designated. It has to be spread across the board to every resident in Otter Creek. So let's say I want to give $5,000, right? Well, then every single resident in Otter Creek has to get $5,000 allocated, split up and allocated towards their water bill. So all of a sudden their water bill is paid for the next couple months. Well, it'd be because Jeremy gave a donation. But I can't go in and go, hey, I want to give $5,000 towards the Hudson sisters' water bill versus somebody else's. So it makes it a little bit difficult, and I'm sure there's some wiggle room and there's probably some gray areas as well. But to be on the safe side, the town can't just, from what I've been told, the town can't just take in that lump sum for the filters. I mean, I don't know how much it is. From what I'm recalling, I believe Mayor Zim has mentioned before the whole system was like $100,000 that was being donated for the pilot program. And he did tell me last time I was there that he was hoping it was going to be up and running really soon. So probably to be on the safe side, on the legal side, because Otter Creek is under so much scrutiny right now. The camera brings accountability, right? And it also brings haters, it also brings lovers, and it also brings a ton of scrutiny. And so the best thing is to be on the safe side of everything and to make sure that everything is done with the complete and total, utter excellence. It's got to be done with excellence, and it has to be done legal. SSB Master wants to know, does Laura Mott always wear her hair like that to cover her face? Just wondering. Well, I think lots of people were wondering that. I've got to say, I can't recall all the hairdos I've seen with Laura Mott. I do recall that the previous meeting, I didn't even recognize her. And I think that's kind of sad because something obviously has happened or is going on. So I do probably agree with you that she was wearing her hair to cover her face from the cameras. And she knows she's under scrutiny. At the same time, when she put her name in, I have no doubt whatsoever, though I cannot prove it. Okay, when I have proof, I tell you there's proof, there's screenshots, there's everything. All right, I got the timelines, the screenshots, the receipts, all the proof. But I have no proof of it, though I believe it, and I'm going to say allegedly, in my mind, my opinion, Russ the Sus is the one that put her up to actually running. Because the last time when she was at town hall, she was screaming and yelling at me, which is a bit of an exaggeration. She just stated very forcefully, "You can't film me." And I said, or she said, "Yeah, I didn't give you permission to film me." And I said, "I don't need it." And then one of the things I told her, my best advice to you is just be quiet. And that's what I think most people should do when the camera is on. Just be quiet. So I do feel like, yes, she was hiding behind her hair. And I'm still waiting and anticipating whether she is going to do good for the actual town or not. Because I've not seen her actually do good for the town. I've seen what she has directly done to me in targeting with an illegal water resolution. Now, I also believe that Russ the Sus used her as a pawn to do it. So there's that battle internally for me. And by the way, I would say all of this to her face as well, except she will complain about the camera. Or maybe she's grown up and maybe she's ready for the camera and maybe she's ready to actually prove she's going to do something good for Otter Creek. But I think she thought she was going to be in there with Russ, with Don, and they were going to take the town back, as Russ the Sus declared. He said he was taking the town back. We're taking it back. He declared that outside when there was no meeting, all on camera, which was illegal. And yes, it's all been sent to the ethics committee here in Tallahassee. Well, they're in Tallahassee. I'm kind of glad I'm not in Tallahassee. Record heat in Florida, like record heat. And here, I'm in a hoodie. I didn't even have enough blankets on last night. I'm going to have to layer up. Linda Holla wants to know, did Don Khan take the paperwork with him? And yes, he did. So I have stills of my video where you can actually see, number one, his camera was recording. Why was I going to say family? Famra? Maybe I was going to say famra. You know, I know it looks easy when you watch YouTube videos and people are talking to a phone with no audience. It's very awkward. And sometimes when you're trying to talk to the camera, your mind has to focus on other things, such as the camera, such as lighting. Like you see all this lighting back here. I'm worried about splashing, blasting and splashing the camera. And so your mind can't always focus on those words that you would in a normal conversation. So he did take all that paperwork, and I have stills of his camera that was videoing, and so you can see in the stills from my actual video that it's still counting and it's still videoing as he took all the paperwork with him as well. So maybe what you're getting at is, wait, Don the Con is saying, I'm resigning, I want nothing to do with this, and he walks out and he says, you're all criminals and you're all illegal, and yet he still takes all the paperwork? That's kind of interesting. And we still don't know, will Don the Con show up? Will he show up at the next meeting? And maybe he might even bring the paperwork back. Siggy wants to know, who was the masked man who came into the meeting? Well, I can tell you, he was there at another meeting as well. Siggy says, Otter Creek is making progress. Jeremy, who's that masked gentleman coming into town hall, standing behind Travis? Was that Russ the Sus? Well, Siggy, here's what I can share with you. Or here's what I will share with you is probably the better expression. It absolutely, 100% was not Russ the Sus, okay? So everybody can get that out of their mind. It wasn't Russ the Sus in a ball cap and a handkerchief. That was not him. And others have asked, was that LIEnette? And no, it wasn't LIEnette. And others have asked, okay, well, who is it? Well, at this point in time, I don't think it beneficial to actually reveal who it was. Even some of the council members are asking me, who is it? And to this date, I will share with you the same thing that I've shared with them. Nothing. John wants to know, since Don the Con left, is his seat vacated? I mean, can it actually go up and be considered vacant? And can somebody else fill it? Well, I already know there's somebody else that wants it. So that's a good thing, a positive thing. And we're still waiting. Recall in a previous video, I shared that what has been shared with others in the town of Otter Creek, that they're going to give Don the Con the opportunity to come back. And if he doesn't come back, then he's done. And if he does come back, if something's in writing, so I believe what the process was going to be is they were going to send something to Don the Con in writing, to which he would have to respond in writing. And I think that's a great idea because it limits liability on the town. And the town is in so much liability because of what Russ the Sus has done, because of Don the Con, because of Rosemary, because of Mary Mary, because of Laura Mott. And so I think that's wise. I think it's really wise. I'm guessing it probably came from the lawyer to say, hey, we're gonna do it this way. He's got another opportunity. We're gonna have it in paper. We're gonna have it on writing. And that way it's all documented. Remember, if you don't have it documented, it never happened. In the law, if it's not documented, it never happened. You can't prove it, it never happened. And so as of right now, I'm going to guess that the seat is vacated. But what if Don the Con cools off a little bit, went home, did some of the devil's lettuce, and then went, yeah, I put on a good show there tonight. Yeah, I showed him who's boss. It probably went home to Rosemary. Rosemary, get me a bottle out of that fridge. Probably said, Rosemary, where's my shoes? Put my shoes over. Rosemary. And then probably chilled out a little bit. And then probably decided, I like being famous. George likes it when I'm at the meetings? People think I'm funny? I maybe can make an entire career out of this, as if he hasn't already calling the local police when his buddy stole his devil's lettuce, telling on himself. That's how ignorant and foolish he and his wife are. Christy says, what did Laura Mott do besides just sit in a seat? Well, I understand being critical because you know what she has been used for as a pawn in the past. And hopefully she didn't initiate it herself, okay? So she was either a pawn of Russ the Sus or she initiated it herself. So I understand the heightened scrutiny, but here's what I can share with you. Laura Mott did not act like a toddler. And so for that, she receives my accolades. Laura Mott did not say anything foolish whatsoever. And for that, she receives my accolades. Now, you may be thinking, well, Jeremy, I thought you love it when these people say foolish things. I think it's funny. I think it's completely and totally dysfunctional, and it is not the way to run a meeting. And I don't want to keep having to record the meetings for accountability. And so you may be thinking, what, are you still going to go to the meetings? If I'm in Florida, I'll go to the meetings because I have a vested interest in Otter Creek and I've seen it go the wrong way. But I don't want to have to keep recording the meetings because of the inappropriate, illegal things that the council does. And I'm hoping that direction is changing. So I didn't see her throw a fuss, a tantrum, a fit, so when you ask the question, what did she do other than just sit in a seat? Probably the same thing I would have done. So with what was being addressed that particular night, a lot of information has already been talked about the community center, and I've been very vocal, very, very vocal on how I feel about the community center. I don't believe the town of Otter Creek can actually maintain it long-term financially. But maybe Laura Mott will have an idea and bring something to the table that they will increase finances. Now, you're not going to do that by pushing out families. You're not going to do that by pushing out businesses that want to come in. You're not going to do that by pushing out tourism, which the strongest thing to Otter Creek for tourism right now, and I don't say this to be cocky or conceited, it's what the hails. People show up daily to see what the hails. So why is the town not jumping on this opportunity to generate income from it? Maybe Laura Mott will have an idea to actually generate income so that way they can maintain the building. So insurance, I mean, that was a easy one. Everybody agreed to insurance. The minutes are the minutes. There was no errors. No meetings happened. So you got the minutes to the meetings that didn't even happen. Approve it. So here's what I did see Laura Mott do. I saw Laura Mott agree externally, even if she disagreed internally. So I'm still of the position that she's Russ's puppet, but she's going to play it off like she's part of the team. Now, we'll find out this coming year what she really is, who she really is, what she's really about, and if she's in Russ's pocket or not, or is she a free thinking of her own accord. But I did see her agree with 3 other members of the town council, and there was no fighting, there was no dysfunction, there was no bickering, there was no ridiculousness. And for that alone, that's healthy for Otter Creek. And so I appreciate that she was there, she sat in a seat, she voted yay for everything. There was no one who voted nay or no for anything. Don the Con, he put his little scene, had his moment, he was gone, and then it was one of the most boring meetings I have ever seen since I've been there. Randall Black wants to know, have the town hall locks been changed since Russ the Sus is gone? Well, I honestly don't know if they ever changed the locks, but I do know Russ the Sus had to turn over all of his keys when Madam Mayor became mayor. And I do know that Russ the Sus was outside of Town Hall when Town Hall was canceled, when Zim couldn't be there, and I didn't see him unlocking anything. So I'm going to guess that locks haven't been changed. And keep in mind, that costs money in a town that has very little of it, okay? People should be respectful enough. Even Russ the Sus, and I know you're going, Russ the Sus, respectful. This isn't respectful sus, this is Russ the Sus. Even Russ the Sus should be respectful of the new administration and to not be foolish enough to go in a town hall with a spare key that he may be hiding. I mean, there's people watching all the time. He's already been busted being filmed, illegally removing records from Town Hall, amongst other things. So is he that dumb to risk it even more? I mean, he's dumb. Don't get me wrong. He is dumb. I mean, picking his nose during meetings, touching doorknobs with his booger hands. He's dumb, right? But are you that dumb that you really want to go to jail? So I don't think he has keys. Does he have a spare key? Probably. But is he going to be dumb enough to go to jail for it? Probably not. I don't think the locks necessarily need to be changed if all the keys were actually turned in. And it's been almost a year and a half already, and there hasn't been any incidents. That doesn't mean there won't be any incidents, but there hasn't as of yet. Central MA Photos says, Jeremy, how do they change their ordinance on when the council members get paid? So if Don takes his check and then he leaves, why should he be paid? Are there requirements members attending the meeting before getting their $100 bills or their $100 check? And I've shared this in the past that from my understanding, nobody got their actual checks for that meeting because one of the things they had to do is the new council had to appoint new members who could actually sign checks. Now, that's obviously going to be Belinda. So she's the clerk in the office. That's going to be the mayor, Vice Zim. Then that has to go, signed minutes needs to go to the bank. And then the bank will approve those individuals to sign the checks. Then the checks can be written for those members. That particular day, I don't believe Don the Con actually got a check. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I will be wrong even more. But I don't think he got a check. Now, in regards to changing the ordinance, I just don't think it's something that needs to be done. I doubt it's even in the ordinance. I just think you hold the check until after the meeting and you go, here's your check. User NK2, bunch of letters, bunch of numbers, says, how many times can you walk out before a meeting and before you get removed from the seat of the council? And so I know if you miss one meeting, you can still get paid per the charter, and that doesn't go against state or federal laws. I know if you miss 2 meetings per the charter, then you don't get paid, and that doesn't go against state or federal laws. I don't know that there's anything against a member walking out of a meeting. So again, you have to think of this as a chess match. So if Don and Russell's goal is to stop anything from moving forward, as they have already shown in the past in the February meeting, they stood up, they walked out, because that was their game plan, to stop anything moving forward. And what were they trying to stop? They were trying to stop Carl from being seated. They were trying to stop Joseph from being seated, who should have been and could have been seated immediately because their positions for the 1-year terms on the council ran unopposed. So why do they want to stop that? Well, they don't want Mayor Zim doing anything. For example, building an RV park. And you're thinking, that's his land. He can do whatever it wants. If it's zoned, he can do it. Absolutely. If it's zoned, he can do it. But Russ the Sus could try and has tried and is continuing to try to sabotage the entire situation for him. Why? Out of spite. Just ridiculous small town fighting. Who's got the bigger driveway? And I think we all know what the answer is to that. Herbal Amanda says, is it the same in Florida as it is in Texas if you use a personal device, such as Don did, as an elected official for government business, then it can be FOIA requested? Absolutely. 100%. So this is how we have all the information from Rosemary, Don's wife, sending all these personal emails, making all these personal calls, using Town Hall to run her personal multiple businesses that have all failed, obviously. And because they were using Town Hall. But the same goes true if she would have brought in her computer into Town Hall and was doing things on Town Hall's time. All of that could have been requested and should have stayed there. It is now, as you see on so many emails, warning everybody when they work in an agency, saying all of this can be requested. Be careful what you say. Be careful what you do. And that goes in regards to Don's cell phone. It goes into Russell's cell phone. Remember when Russell said, I don't do emails? It was because he doesn't want a paper trail. He doesn't want a paper trail. He doesn't want a text trail. He told the lawyers when I was suing the town of Otter Creek that his phone magically disappeared and Mary Mary's is broken and nobody knows where either of them are. Why? Because their phones were being FOIA requested, because they used their phones to do town business. Therefore, all of that can be requested. You don't use your personal phone for town business, period. It's just stupid. You don't use your personal laptop. You don't use your personal email in Town Hall. You don't use your personal anything. When you are on town business time, you only use town resources and do town business things. You don't do what Mary or Rosemary did and anything you want, because now it's subjected to the world. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Judge Craig DeThomas, the planet. Now, we have run a records request for the state of Florida every single time. Jeremy Hales, What the Hales, George Hales has been mentioned. We have over 6,000 documents at the local level, the county level, and the state level. Over 6,000 documents. Anybody want to guess how many times Amanda Martin mentioned my name? Sarah Shaw wants to know, can charges be coming against Don the Con, Russ the Sus? Well, let's just read it the way it is. Question: could the state attorney's office bring charges of criminal solicitation and criminal conspiracy charges against Russ, Don, Mary, LP, and JC for defrauding the town of Otter Creek by attempting to stop town hall business under the Sunshine Law? It seems their efforts fall under Florida Statute 777-04. Your thoughts, Jeremy? Well, my first thought, Sarah, is I have not read that particular statute. So to answer your question, I'm not prepared to answer your question. Now, the real question is, can the state attorney bring charges? Well, I would assume the state attorney, if they have the authority to bring charges, they can do those things. But I haven't read the statute. I haven't talked to anybody who's even talking about bringing charges in regards to what you just stated in the statute. And here's the other thing. Even if the state attorney does want to bring those charges, they are not going to tell me. They are going to provide, or they're going to produce all the evidence, and they're going to make their case. They're going to show their claim against these individuals internally. And then what's going to happen is all of a sudden they're going to be arrested. So maybe it's in the works and we just don't know it yet. Linda Lopez says, when Don the Con said, I don't want to be a part of this meeting, isn't that his official resignation? I could view it that way. You obviously viewed it that way as you're asking it. Again, legally though, it'd be great to have something in writing that protects the liability of the town. Trisha Arnold wants to know, if the town of Otter Creek unincorporates, would Belinda lose her job? Well, yes. Belinda would lose her job. Richard would lose his job. And those two individuals are employees of the town of Otter Creek. They're not employees of the mayor. They're not employees of the vice mayor. They're not employees of the council. They're employees of the residents of the town of Otter Creek. But I know what you're saying. You're like, oh my goodness, this would just be so sad. They would lose, their job. You got to understand, they're both retirement age. They're both, and I'm not trying to say anything negative. They're past retirement age. They're doing this just because they want to get out of the house. Okay. So you're not going to hurt Belinda financially if she doesn't have this part-time job. If anything, you're probably going to bring her more peace of mind because she doesn't have to fool around with the ridiculousness. But she loves the people of the town. And therefore, she's doing this for the people of the town. She doesn't have to. And Richard, I don't know Richard as well, but I still think Richard has probably in the pocket of Russ the Sus. But again, at the same time, retirement age. This isn't life-changing money. This isn't a life-changing position. This is, I'm retired. What am I going to do today? I mean, you can only mow your lawn so many times. I don't know what kind of hobbies Richard has. Could he take up woodworking? Sure. As a matter of fact, there's a woodworking shop in Otter Creek. He could volunteer at the woodworking shop. That would give him something creative to do. For me, I don't necessarily have a 9 to 5. As a matter of fact, George would tell you I work 25/8, which we all know it's only 24/7, but she says I work 25/8. I like to wrap my hands around a project. I like to be involved in something, even though I don't get paid. I don't get a paycheck. I don't get paid, and God still has blessed me. But I want to be involved in something. So today it was the peacocks. I was involved with the peacocks. I went and hung out with the peacocks, and I cleaned their penthouse, and I did all kinds of things with them. So keep in mind, even though these individuals would lose a salary, they're not paying taxes as much anymore. So what they're losing in salary, they may be gaining some of that back in taxes that they're not paying, and they're getting increased services from the county. Now, I have a sneaky suspicion, if you were to ask Belinda and Richard, both of them, would you like to see the drug problem cleaned up in Otter Creek? Who says no to that? Oh, we know. Rug addicts say no to that. Rug dealers say no to that. Rug users say no to that. I'm pretty sure Belinda and Richard are going to go, yeah, please, 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 come in and clean this all up. I'd be willing to bet that they would both give up their salaries if it meant the rug issues were cleaned up, cleared up, and fixed in the town. And Jack's mom read my mind. She literally just said, don't you think the rug problem could be fixed if they unincorporated, thus forcing more policing to be done by the county? Of course, that doesn't take into consideration corruption, laziness, bigotry, and or ignorance. And Jack's mom, yes, I do. I think unincorporating actually starts to solve some of the problems with the rugs that are everywhere. Hey, don't get me wrong. I've got rugs in my own house, right? But they're actual rugs, okay? And you understand what I mean and Jack's moms mean by rugs. Unincorporating could be the right step moving forward to actually clean the town up of what it truly once was. The most beautiful town in all of Levy County, the center hub for all activity, where everybody went and wanted to go.